Ritzei Adonai Elohei Be'amcha Yisrael Tefilatam Behashevet ha'avodah ledavir beitecha Utefilatam be'ahava tikapel beratzon Otahi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha V'techezei einayneinu B'shovcha letzion berachamim Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir shechinato letzion Behashevet ha'avodah ledavir beitecha V'ishei Yisrael V'tefilatam be'ahava tikapel beratzon Otahi leratzon tamid avodat Yisrael amecha V'techezei einayneinu B'shovcha letzion berachamim Baruch atah Adonai Hamachazir shechinato letzion
Shalom everybody and welcome. My name is Rabbi Itzhak Shapira and I'm the founder of Ahavat Amim Ministries International and Yeshivat Shu. I'm especially blessed that you decided to join us for this particular shiur in this mini seminar titled The Two Ingatherings, the Anusim and the Coming of the Messiah. The topic of the Anusim is a topic that captures the hearts of many, but many do not understand what is the connection between the Anusim to the final redemption, to the final Geulah, to the salvation of Israel, to the fullness of the Gentiles. And in the first teaching I started to touch on the important topic that we call the Anusim. To remind you, if you have not had a chance to watch the first teaching, the term Anusim mean literally the forced one, the raped ones. It's referring specifically to the Jews who have been forcefully converted to Christianity, starting in the late 1300s all the way on, from the sins of the Inquisitions and the sins of the Catholic Church. I explained in the last year the magnitude of the Holocaust that has taken place during this time, and I explained to you in the context of the Anusim, who have been clearly prophesied by all the way from Moses, Isaiah, Jeremiah. Today we're going to continue with Isaiah and go look at Malachi. That this is being prophesied and spoken by the prophets of Israel so clearly about as end time, as a connection to the end time events and the ingatherings that will take place in Jerusalem. In the last shiur, I spoke about the first ingathering, very bad ingathering, that will take place with a great war that's known as Gog and Magog, between or together, I should stress it, Islam and Christianity around Jerusalem. Where I left the last shiur to you is the fact that it says in the text that there will be a remnant from Gog and Magog, a remnant of Gentiles, those who will actually survive Gog and Magog. And those will be ones who are called with a specific task. And their task will be to prepare the nations, not just the nations, Israel, for the real and final ingathering. Today we want to talk about this ingathering and the connection between the Bnei Anusim, the sons of the daughters of the Anusim, to this future ingathering that is going to take place. I dedicate this shiur to all the Bnei Anusim in the Latin world, the Spanish world, Portuguese world. It's amazing to know that the Bible has prophesied about those days. The Bible has been prophesying about you. I would like to pick up the conversation and the shiur with you today by looking how the second ingathering will take place and the relationship between the Anusim to the salvation of the house of Israel. Let's turn together to Isaiah chapter 66 and read. It says, "And out of all the nations said the Lord, they shall bring all your brothers on horses, in chariots and drays, on mules and dromedaries, to Jerusalem, my holy mountain, as an offering to the Lord. Just as the Israelite bring an offering in a pure vessel to the house of the Lord." Now it's interesting here in the text, the way it speaks, it says, "Ve'aviu et kol achichem." And he's speaking about one group of people who is going to bring all the brothers as to Jerusalem. And they have a name. They call here in the text Mincha. We see this term Mincha. What does that mean? Does that mean that they're going to bring some sort of a gift to God? What is the gift is one of the questions that we have to ask ourselves. But the first thing first, we need to understand who is bringing who here. There are three groups of people in the text here who partake in this Geulah, in the final redemption, the great ingathering up to Jerusalem. Group number one is those remnant from the Gentiles who survived Gog and Magog. They have a responsibility, and the responsibility is to bring the brothers, and in a minute we will define the brothers, from the nations, to bring them all the way up to Jerusalem. Itzhak Abarbanel explained to us this clearly, and he says that it is going to be the greatest miraculous event that we have ever seen. And he said, he called it Pele Gadol, great miracle. Then he said, this will be a great miracle that is done by God as the children, one who are brought are the children of Israel who are yet to come up to Jerusalem from the land of the nation, who are being brought as an offering gift to God. Itzhak Abarbanel is telling us that the gift, the offering, is none other than those children of Israel who are joining the children of Israel. Do you get it? There are two different children of Israel groups here. There are two different groups that are partaking of the Geulah. The original Jews who are in the land, and those among the nations who are not Jewish, but yet they are calling here the children of Israel, and they are brought into the land, and they are going to be brought into the land by Gentiles, not Jews. There are three important questions to ask ourselves in light of the words of Yitzhak Abarbanem. I'd like you to consider all three questions today as we go through this study. Question number one: who is being brought to Jerusalem in the second ingathering? The question number two: what is the purpose in being brought up to Jerusalem? And then question number three: what is this great gift unto the Lord? Notice that question number one is asking the question who. Who is the right question. We are not talking about a vessel. We're talking about a group of people who are going to be joining to Israel, who's going to have a direct impact of the salvation, not just of the world, but the salvation of Israel. Who are those people? What is the mystery behind those people is the question that I want you to ask. Those people are called a gift. Here in the text, they called a mincha. Another word for a gift in Hebrew is the word shiloh. Shiloh, like we see in Genesis chapter 49:18. Remember the three who came who visited Yeshua in Bethlehem as when he was born. That is a picture. And what did they brought him? They brought him gift. In Hebrew, gift is the word shai. And here we're seeing that they are going to, again, that those nations are going to be bringing a gift to the Messiah of Israel. And we need to ask ourselves, what is the nature of this gift? Who are those gifts? And what are those gifts are being representing? We read in the commentary called Mishpatot Atzav, let us read together, that during the time that the children of Israel will bring a pure offering to God, at the same time it will even have an impact on the nations who will also want to bring a present to God. It will manifest itself in the nature of the nation's gift, who will bring all the Jews who are assimilated among the nations, who will become the ultimate gift to God, or the gift of God. The ultimate gift that is going to be offered to Messiah is the scattered of the house of Israel. And in a minute we'll see who they are, where they come from, how we will identify them. But their notion here is important, because it's not going to have just an impact on those who are being brought and on those who are going to be receiving them. It is also going to have a great impact on the one who will be bringing them. Here in the text it says that they are going to be the nations. The nations. And it here says by Rabbi Nisim Reuven, who is a very important Sephardic rabbi during the time of the terrible tragedy that took place in Spain. He explained the following. He says, all the people of the world are destined to bring a gift to Messiah, the son of David. Let me stop there for a second and explain to you. When what we read in Isaiah chapter 66 about the nation bringing the ingathering, that takes place after Gog and Magog, then the real ingathering that is truly taking place. And here he's saying to us, the rabbi, that Rabbi Reuven says to us that this is going to take place during a time that all the nations are going to come up to Jerusalem. So the text here that we're reading, Isaiah 66, is a connector to Isaiah chapter 2 as an example, to the time that all the nations will come up to Jerusalem. And the rabbi connecting it to Isaiah 18:7, which says, in that time, a present should be brought to the Lord of hosts. So in Isaiah 66, they call a present mincha. But in Isaiah 18:7, where they call a present, they call Shiloh. They are representing, they are the gift that is going to be brought to the Messiah. And we have to say, how can a person be a gift? What do you mean a gift for Messiah? Why is the Messiah even need a gift? And why this gift going to be the greatest gift that not just the Messiah is receiving, but the greatest gift that all of Israel is receiving? What is the nature of this gift of the scattered? Or here it says the scattered of the house of Israel, those who have been assimilated, but they are actually returning. We need to understand this. And Midrash Lekach Tov on Genesis 49, where we see the term Shiloh mentioned, tell us even where they are going to be ingathered from. And remember that they are not ingathered by Jews. They are being ingathered by non-Jews. And it says in Lekach Tov, it says the nation of the world will bring a present to Messiah ben David, as declared, tribute shall be brought to the Lord, as stated, let the kings of Tarshish, Spain, and Ireland pay tribute. King of Sheba and Seba offer gift. This is important because the rabbi here, the main Midrash Lekach Tov, quoting from Psalm chapter 72, that speak about the place where the nation's going to go and collect this great gift to bring it to the Messiah and to bring it to Israel. And what is this gift? Great gift is Israel. The Gentiles are going to bring Israel to Israel. You probably stretch your head right now and say, what? Why would Israel be brought to Israel? Isn't this there's one Israel? What do you mean, Rabbi Shapira? Are there two Israel? Let us explain it. Let us understand it. Read with me Psalm chapter 72 verse 10, the verse that is being quoted. And I quote to you today, may kings of Tarshish and the islands will bring tribute or gift. Kings of Sheba and Seba offer gifts. Notice where the gifts are coming from. The gifts are coming from Tarshish. Tarshish is Spain. It is talking about people who have been assimilated. Let me ask you a question. Which people have been assimilated to that Christianity from Spain who have to be restored as a gift to all of Israel? The answer is obvious. It is the Sfaradim. It is the Anusim. It is talking about our people who will be returning from the nations all the way to the house of Israel. Now notice what it says about those kings of Spain. It said that they will bring tribute. Now this word bring is an important word. This word here in the text, bring, is the word yashivu. Yashivu, listen to the word yashivu. It's come from the word shuv, shav, shuvu, shuva. To bring something in, sing something in, return something. Not to bring something new, but rather to return something that is old. I want you to understand this because this is an important, significant, and prophetic point. The prophet here in Psalm 72 says that they will return from Spain. Not something that is brand new, something that is old, and something that have to be returned, that is being taken or has been borrowed and maybe taken without permission, or borrowed without permission. And the question that you have to ask yourself, why is it so important that this something that has been taken without permission will return back to Yaakov, that return back to Israel, that will return back to the Messiah? Because the secret, friends, the secret of their redemption is dependent on the fullness of the house of Israel. Just as in Pesach, we're talking about the fullness of the 4 children, that they're all coming together, or in Sukkot, when we talk about the 4 species being bound together, here we are seeing the same picture again and again, that the fullness of the house of Israel is what is needed in order for the corporate redemption to take place. In other words, without the returning of the gift, the return of something that was taken, let's call it without permission, or let's even call it taken by force. It's taken by force. Without that, there is no salvation in the world. Salvation is going to come when Israel is corporately is ready to receive him. Are you following what I'm telling you? The rabbis in Midrash Tanchuma connected the dot between this verse in Psalm 72:10, they're talking about returning something from Spain, to the relationship between Esav and between Yaakov. This is very important. I know it's a little bit detailed, but I want you and I need you to stay with me and follow this with me. In Genesis chapter 32 and 33, we see Yaakov preparing to the meeting with Esav. And what did it say about the meeting with Esav? It says that at the night, again, night in Judaism represent the time prior to the Geula. At the night, it says, actually, let's go to the text together. It says, after spending the night there, he, Jacob, selected from what was at hand these presents for his brother Esav. Excuse me, what is he chosen to give Esav? Presents. According to Isaiah chapter 66, Isaiah chapter 18, and Psalm chapter 72, what will be returned to Jerusalem? Presents. In Isaiah chapter 66, the present is not a what, is a who. As we already learned, it is the Anusim themselves who have to be given back by the Gentiles back to Jacob. In a minute it will all make sense to you. Here it says that he's giving Jacob, in the text it says he's giving a gift to Esau. The word there, from everything that was in his hand, is important. In Hebrew you said, min haba beyado, mean that he is giving things randomly. It's like he was grabbing something from here, he was grabbing something, he was grabbing 550 livestock. He gathered everything he had. It is not a regular giving when you give some thoughts to what you're going to give and how you're going to wrap the gift. No, he's randomly giving him pretty much almost everything that he has. You know why? Because he is panicking. He is giving him the gift. Jacob is giving him the gift under force. He is being forced to give him the gift. Who is the picture of the Anusim in this story? It is Jacob. Jacob is the Ben Anusim. Why? Or in this case, he is the Anus himself, because he is doing something under force, under compulsion. He have a knife to his throat, and that's why he's giving the gift to Esau. And you say, well, that said so. He seems like he's randomly giving a gift. Oh, I disagree. You have to ask yourself the two questions in the context of our discussion, because the gift here in the Besorah are equivalent for the future gift that will be returned back to Israel. And now you will understand why they will be returned back to Israel. It says Before I go there, I want you to think about those couple of important points. Number one, what are the gifts that will be returning from Spain? I think you know the answer already. It is the Anusim themselves who will be returning. And the second question that you must ask yourself is, what is the true goal beyond the gift to Yaakov? Gift of Yaakov. What is Yaakov truly was trying to establish? Well, let's deal with them one at a time, but first we have to understand something, that the gift that Jacob is giving to Esau, that now we know that in the future will be returning. Remember what it says in Isaiah 66, that the gift will be returning? In a moment we'll see what the Midrash says. Everything that Yaakov is giving Esau going to go back from Esau back to Jacob in the last days. We'll get there. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm too excited by this. But look at what it says in Genesis chapter 32 verse 12. It says, before he gave him the gift, he says, deliver me, I pray, from the hand of my brother, from the hand of Esau. Else I fear he may come and strike me down, mothers and children alike. Yet you have said, I will deal bountifully with you and make your offering as the sands of the sea, which are too numerous to count. After spending the night there, he selected from what was at his hand there to bring present to his brother Esau. Did you read the text? Did you see what the Hebrew said? He said, Hatzileni na miyad achi. Save me from the hand of my brothers. And then he gave the gifts, which tell us something about the nature of the gift that Yaakov is giving himself. The nature of the gift present that he's giving them out of force, not out of love, not out of care. He's bringing them because he's scared that he will kill him. This gift is the gift that representing the Anusim. It is a gift that is given by force. And that's why the Yalkut Ruveni says, and I quote, it says, and Jacob took what was available in his hand, meaning he gave him everything, as a gift to give to Esau, which represent a secret, as he had bribed, or he's trying to bribe Satan himself. Brothers and sisters, what is happening here in the text is that Jacob is trying to bribe Esau, try to bribe Edom, so that Edom will not kill him. The Anusims were giving as a bribe to Esau, as a bribe to Christianity. Because if those Anusim, who were like the lamb that was led to the slaughter, were not giving to the end of Christianity, they would have killed us all. I want you to understand that. The gifts represent the Anusim. That is the fair representation of the Anusim, according to the Midrash. And if the one it was not given to Esau, he would have killed Yaakov. Because we know he's coming to kill Yaakov. He doesn't come to kiss him. We already know that. So that is an important part of this topic that we are talking about today. His gifts are a gift of force. And gift of force is called Anusim. It's a gift that comes to stop Esau from destroying Yaakov. Although we talk about the Anusim and it says, well, they decide to leave Judaism and reject Judaism. Can you imagine what would the Catholic Church would have done if not one Jew would have converted? If the church did not have the reward of Jewish souls, they would have killed each and every one of us. And that's why he said here in his prayer, Yaakov, Hatzileni na miyad achi. Deliver, I pray, from the hand of my brother. When you take this text, Hatzileni na miyad achi, and you look at the prefix of each word, you get hey, you get nun, and you get mem. What is the word hey, mem, nun translated to? The word Haman. Haman. The Haman we read about in this story of Purim. My brothers and sisters, the spirit of Haman is the same spirit that has been on top of the Catholic Church. Make no mistake about this. The spirit of Haman is the same spirit that seeks to destroy the Jewish people, just as in the Inquisition, the church has seek to destroy the Jewish people. And the only thing that the church will take, the only thing the adversary will take, which is Satan ultimately himself, is something, some reward, some Jewish reward. That's the only thing that they can slow him down for a little bit. Now you have to understand something, that in the last days, all the gifts that is given from Yaakov to Esau, going back the other way, from Esau to Yaakov. Yaakov is going to receive, begin all the gifts of Esau. And on that, the Midrash Sechel Tov says, all the gifts that Yaakov, meaning Israel, given to Israel, to Esau, to Christianity, the nations of the world will return to King Messiah. Let kings of Tarshish, Spain, and the island pay tribute. What is the ultimate tribute? What is the ultimate gift that is going to be returning back to Yaakov from Esau? The ultimate gift that is going to be returning is the souls of the Jewish people who been consumed by Esau, who have been taken by Esau, but they are really part of Yaakov. And that, brothers and sisters, is the story of the Anusim. They belong today to Esau. Make no mistake. Let us be honest and true about it. They today belong to Esau, but they belong to Esau illegally. Because the way Esau has acquired the gift is by force. That's the word Anusim. Only Esau can return the gift to Yaakov. And that's why we see in the prophecy of Isaiah 66 that it is Gentiles who represent Esau who go to the nations to bring him back out to Yaakov. This is important. Only through Esau we can take our piece of Esau. We deliver him from Edom all the way to Jacob. The question is, if the gifts had been given 500 years ago, over 500 years ago, to Christianity, not gift, I use it in quotation mark, false gift, a gift under force, will all the gifts return to Yaakov? Listen to what the Midrash Shocher Tov, Buber edition, tells us. It says the following. Midrash Tehillim, on 141, he says, and he spent that night there, and he took whatever hand grabbed. Now we know what it is. Panic, everything. He took actually 550 livestock, exactly. Is it not robbery or by force? As it is said, because you have robbed your brother Yaakov, disgrace will cover you, and you shall be cut off forever. Obadiah 1:10. Brothers and sisters, the Midrash is telling us what has took place here. Esau had robbed Yaakov of the greatest gift, and the greatest gift that belonged to Yaakov, that Esau has taken, is the Anusim, is the schedule of the house of Israel. There is no greater gift that has been taken from Yaakov than the descendants of the house of Israel. And here Obadiah 1:10 says, no. God is going to deal with Esau. Remember Esau? Take the word Esau, flip the letters, you get Yeshua. Esau is a word that represents Christianity. Where today are those scattered people? We talk about 200 million Bnei Anusim. Where are they today? They are all inside Christianity. And the question about, are they all going to come? They're all going to return? The Midrash gives us a sobering word, a sad word, but it's a word that we have to face with reality. And it says, and I quote, as it is said, because you have robbed your brother Yaakov, it says will cover you, and you shall be cut off forever, talking about Esau. But listen to Israel's answer. Is he cut forever? Is the Anusim are the Anusim going to be cut forever? That is the million-dollar question. This is the question that we need to ask ourselves today. Are they gone forever? And listen to the answer of the Midrash. And whatever he swallowed, whatever Esau swallowed, whatever Esau consumed, is it lost? Says the Lord, I shall take from between his teeth, as it is said, says the Lord, from Bashan I will return to that it was said, please save me from a man of violence and robbery. In essence, what the Midrash is suggesting, and we're asking the question, what about those who have been consumed? Those who are completely a Christian. After 5 years, 100 years, most of the Bnei Anusim who have been given by force, who taken by force by Christianity, they have been fully consumed and fully digested by Christianity. It is true, and we cannot avoid saying this. It is true. They are Christians. They're not Jewish. But the Navi here tell us, the Nevuah, the prophecy telling us there are pieces that are stuck between Esau's teeth. Those pieces that are stuck between Esau's teeth represent the remnant among the Anusim, those who are now coming out, those who are maybe not fully have been accepting themselves as Christians, those today who are being revealed and receiving today in these last days a Jewish identity, a revelation of the house of Israel. My goodness, it can be you. I pray that you are one of those people who will be stuck between the teeth of Esau, because it says that God will take his little, what you call a teeth cleaner, and he will pull him out. He will reveal him, and he will take him out of Esau. And those pieces who will be taken out of Esau, those represent the gift who will return all the way back to the house of Jacob. Those they will be returning back as the gift for King Messiah. Why are those pieces are so important? Why is it so critical today for us to see those pieces, as the Midrash says, not the swallowed pieces, but those pieces that are hanging inside Esau, to bring them out? Why do we have a yeshivot for Messianic movement in Sfarad, in Portugal? Why do we do that? Because there is a surprise here to the story. Remember, those pieces were coming out. It says in Isaiah 66, what we have been learning today, it says that they are becoming a gift to Adonai. What is this word in Hebrew, gift? This word in Hebrew, gift, is the word mincha. Okay? And it says it in the text. The mincha, the gift in the Midrash, it says the mincha, or the gift, will return back from Esau, meaning that the letters will be flipped from mincha. Excuse me, let me take a sip of water. They will be flipped from mincha, from gift, to nechama, which is comfort. And on this it is said that all the gifts will be returned to King Messiah, that the gift that he himself has sent will return to comfort. The gift here, the Hebrew word for gift is the word mincha, and that's what it promises in Isaiah. What the Midrash says, that if you take the word mincha and you flip the letter of the word mincha, you get the word nechama, and nechama means comfort. What will happen when they scattered among the house of Israel returning, when Israel returning to Israel, what will happen? Their own gift will become a comfort to the Jewish people. It's become a comfort to all of Israel. That's when the fullness of the entire house of Israel is taking place. There is a complete restoration and rectification that is taking place inside the house of Israel when we'll have all of Israel together. Why do you think? It's talk about Jeremiah 31, about a new covenant with the house of Yehudah and the house of Israel. Just as it says in Isaiah chapter 66, that Israel will be led back to Israel. The first Israel, that is called the house of Yehudah, that's the naturally Jewish people. But the other Israel is the house of Israel, which is Gentiles, who are actually have been scattered among the house of Israel because they have been forcefully converted. When the two sticks will become one, when Israel and Israel will become one, then the mincha gift will become the same letters. The word nechama, they will become nechama. They will become a comfort for the entire house of Israel in these days. Pay attention to this, because Yaakov is giving me under force exactly 550 livestock. And this is important. Look at the Midrash with me. It says, on the gift of 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 eos and 20 rams, 30 camels, 40 cow, 10 bull, 20 she-asses, and 10 he-asses, it is says, the number of animals is equivalent to 550, which is equivalent to the word taken or tikkun, which refer to the future goodness that will come from the tikkun. Notice something. Yaakov is giving Esau under force 550 animals, which is related to the term tikkun, repair, restoration. Who is the one who is going to be repaired and restored when the gifts are returning to him? We can argue that Yaakov himself is going to be repaired when all of Israel will come together, when all of Israel will become one. That's what when Paul says, that's the day that all of Israel will be saved. So a tikkun will happen in all of Israel corporately when we see King Messiah bringing, and when we see King Messiah recognizing, all the scattered in the house of Israel, which will be led by Gentiles who will be bringing them. It is an incredible prophecy. But maybe the tikkun also will take place for those who are bringing them. Who are the ones who are bringing back the gift? Well, let me ask you a question. Who is the one who taken the gift to begin with? It was Esau. It was Christianity. Who is the one who is going to bring back those gifts? It's going to be Esau. It's going to be Christianity who is going to have an historic part of this tikkun. God will not allow even one, not even one inside the house of Israel, not even one inside the house of Israel will be perishing in the day that King Mashiach will come. When King Mashiach comes, the very first thing he's doing, he's pulling his little virtual spiritual scanner, and he said, I have a magnet here. Everybody who has a Jewish descendancy is coming up immediately up to Jerusalem. This is the Ingathering. And he's going to use the Gentile as this living magnet to bring the Jewish people who are scattered up to Jerusalem. This is the way that the Midrash explained it so beautifully in Midrash Tehillim 87. It says, Rabbi the Yossi, son of Simon, all the nations are destined to bring gift to King Messiah. As it is said in Song of Song 4:8, you will see from the top of Amana. Rabbi Shimon asked, why the gift is named Teshuvah? Since a man look at it and sing as it is said in Job 7:8, and I shall not see me. And when they arrived to King Messiah, he tells them, are there Israel among you? Bring them to me. I want you to understand something. The nations going to be gathered up to Jerusalem in this final ingathering, and everybody think, oh, it's great, King Messiah is there and he's loving us and he's caring for. No, he's still a judge. And he have one question for the Gentiles. He says, hey, Gentiles, so glad to have you here in Jerusalem. Now hand over the Jews. Hand over the gifts that Esau stole. Hand over the theft of the last 500 years. Hand it over to me, says King Messiah. And the great and amazing thing about it is that the Gentiles know who they are. Those Anusim know who they are. And the question, how do they know who they are? This is a great miracle that is going to be taking place in these days. They're also being brought up to Jerusalem in the greatest of honor. They are being honored as they come. When he talk about their being come in the chariot and this and that, he's talking this metaphoric language of the prophet Isaiah to speak about the great honor and the way they're going to come up to Jerusalem as the Jewish brethren who are returning home, as the prodigal sons who are returning home. What is the number one issue today in the Latin culture? The number one issue in the Latin culture today is identity, is shame, is a society that is full of shame and guilt. Do you want to know where it stems from, where it's rooted from? Those who are Spanish descendants, Portuguese descendants, listen to me. It is rooted in today in what took place when Esau put a sword to the neck of your forefathers. And today you have an opportunity to break this sword, break this yoke, lift the shame. I love the way the Midrash continue to explain it, and I say it with you in Midrash Tehillim. It says, give the Lord, it's quoting, he connected it, the Midrash to Psalm 96:7. Give the Lord the families of the nations. That is, nation brought me from the families of Israel, said Rabbi Itzhak, and he tells them to bring them respectfully, not with contempt. Offer the Lord honor to his name, those who respected him in this world and respected his name. In the name of Rabbi Yehuda. In that time, tribute shall be brought to the Lord of hosts from all the people far and remote. This is Isaiah 18:7, when it says that they're going to be brought up. Isaiah 18:7 and Isaiah 66 and Psalm 96 speaking about the same event. The time, the day, the Anusim, the gift that now belonged to Esau, the token Jews who became Christians, they are going to be brought up, and they are brought up in such an honor, such a kavod. A red carpet is open to them. That said that they will be led up to Jerusalem. What is the word brought up? What is the word brought up here in the text? Is the word Yovel. The word Yovel is the word Jubilee, brothers and sisters. The Jubilee will take place when the Anusim will be led again up to Jerusalem. Do you know that if you take the word Jubilee, you have the value of 47. And the word them also is equivalent the value of 47, who represent the ultimate Jubilee. When will the ultimate Jubilee will come? The ultimate Jubilee will take place when they will be brought up in honor up to Jerusalem. God help us today. The Jewish society today is refusing to look at the Anusim. When we are refusing to look at the Anusim, we are delaying the topic of Geulah. Everybody need to understand this. When we as Jews do not look at them and we close the eyes on this issue, we are stopping redemption from coming to the world. God help us. Because here in the text says that they're going to become and brought to Mashiach, who will say, give them to me. Why? Messiah want them. Messiah want them because the future salvation of all of Israel. And what I'm talking about now about Israel, I'm talking about the physical branch, the Jews, and those who became Gentiles. All of Israel are determined, the salvation determined is by those Gentiles who have the seed of Israel returning back home. We have to get ourselves ready. The Gentiles have such an important role here as well, as they will be the one who will be bringing them. Their fullness will take place at the same time, in the same way as Gentiles. Listen to the continuation of the Midrash. Amazing. Midrash Tehillim 87, it says, They bring them as a gift to King Messiah. Again, they become a living king. Gifts for King Messiah, as it says in Isaiah 66:20. And bring all your brothers from all the nation as an offering to your God. Remember what I already told you. Those gifts are coming from Spain. It is speaking about the Sfaradim. It is speaking about the Anusim. It is speaking about them in the last days, without any doubt. Rabbi Barachia says, the elderly among them cannot lean on one stick. What do the others do? They bring them and support them with their own hand. What does it mean, respectfully? It means that they bring them in respect. And when they bring them and are about to leave, he says, this one is a Kohen. This one is a Levi, yet this one is from the house of Israel. God himself is going to say on each and every one of them in the last day, this one is a Kohen, and this one is a Levi, and this one is the house of Israel. There are many inside of us today who are complete Gentile, who belong to the Kohanim, who belong to the Leviim, and who belong to all Klal Israel. And the question is, are they going to come out? Are they going to be spit out? They're stuck in the teeth of Esau today. We have to help to set them free. It's going to be a remnant. Because God promised, never go null and void. And here in Isaiah 66:21, we perhaps read the most shocking promise in the text, when he talks about complete Gentiles who have the lineage of the house of Israel. And he says, and I quote, I will also take some of them as priests and for Leviim, says Adonai. And here it's used the Hebrew word mehem. From them I'm going to take some to be Kohen. And Levi, says God. And the question should be in the back of your mind. How can they be a Kohen? How can they be a Levi? How is it possible that one of them going to be a Kohen or a Levi, to the point that God will say, this is a Kohen, this is a Levi? How is it even halachically possible? The Midrash explained to us something that is hard to digest. And you have to understand something. Until they return fully, Israel as a nation will not receive salvation. There is no salvation without them. And Midrash Tehillim explained the following, and it says the explanation is that if they have been enslaved, the explanation is that they have been enslaved and forgotten, and they became Gentiles by becoming forcibly, by becoming Anusim. He stopped there. The Midrash is telling us that they are Gentile by force. Just as Jacob gave in the gift by force, they became Gentiles by force. It's not legitimate, it's not real. But 500 years have gone by. They become Gentiles, as it says, by the hand of oppressors. I receive them. Are you hearing the word that God says? Not Rabbi, chief Rabbi of Sephardic, chief Rabbi Ashkenazic DNA. God says, I will receive them. Messiah will receive them. And it says here, as it is says, I shall take from them as well. How all of this is taking place? Rashi asked the question, how is it even possible? And Rashi himself provides the answer in an amazing prophecy about the Anusim from the Torah, from Deuteronomy chapter 29, where it says, the hidden things belong to Adonai our God. Say with me right now, the hidden things belong to Adonai our God. They are not hidden to God. God knows who they are today. 500-600 years later, God knows exactly who they are. There is no doubt. The shocker is that in the last days, he's going to reveal to them also who they are, and he's going to prepare them to bring Israel into salvation. Israel's salvation is depending upon the Anusim, upon the Portuguese, upon Bnei Anusim today. But we do have an halachic problem. Remember, when we talk halacha, we have to talk about Rambam. And Rambam explained to us that if one is a priest, and he became a worker of Avodah Zarah, he can never work in the temple. But here in the text it says that they will work in the future temple of God. How we reconcile those two things? This is important. Look at the halacha found to us in Admission of the Sanctuary 9:13 in the Mishneh Torah, one of the most important halachic Jewish works that we have. And it says, every person who partake in Avodah Zarah, idol worship, intentionally or unintentionally, even if he made complete repentance, and I want you to underline those next two words, cannot serve in Bet HaMikdash, in the temple, forever. Not for a limited time, forever, as stated in Ezekiel 44:13. They shall not approach me to serve me as priest. Ezekiel 44:13. Wait a second. If this is the case, how come the prophet Isaiah tells us that there will be Kohanim who actually, not Kohanim by name, but the Kohanim who work? How do we reconcile the two positions? Pay attention to the words of Rambam. Rambam explained that this prohibition, this law, is taking place on those who do it, either what he called mazid or shogeg. What is mazid? Mazid is if one says, I am a Kohen, he's a Kohen, but I am intentionally converting to Christianity, and now I want to become Kohen Gadol. That's called mazid. It's something that you do intentionally from full conscience. Shogeg is something that you do unintentionally. You made a mistake, he's not a bad guy. He made a mistake. Okay? But what about the Anusim? They are not have done it b'mazid for sure. They were forced to become Christians. And Shogeg, no, that's not sure. It's not unintentional. There's a third category. It's called be'onis. Under a knife to your throat. And here let's see what Mishpatzot Zahav tell us about the Rambam. To explain and reconcile Rambam, it says, the Rambam language speak of those who done it intentionally or unintentionally, mazid or shogeg. However, when it is a question of life or death, as in the case of Anusim, they are not disqualified. And why they are not disqualified? The reason that they are not disqualified is because it's happened under the prohibition of the Anusim. Just as Yaakov has given those gifts under being Anusim, that doesn't count. That means that the original gift still belong legally to Yaakov. Yaakov gave the gift to Esau because he was 4, but the original gift still belongs to Yaakov. Just as the Anusim still belong to Israel today. Nobody will be able to take the Anusim from Israel, not even Christianity, because they were forced. It's an issue of legality, of Jewish law. I want you to understand that, and that's why they can be Kohanim. But they need to be immersed again. They need to become Jewish again. Not just Zera Israel, Jewish again. So now the question, how they will be converted? Oh, I know, they're going to go to the Chabad, the local rabbi, and do a conversion. Right? I don't think so. Anybody who wants to convert today, who is a Ben Anusim, be careful. Understand prophecy. Do not diminish prophecy. Brothers and sisters, listen to the greatest Jewish mind from Italy. A couple of 100 years later, the Ramat Valley, and listen to what it says. There is a great confusion as a result of their exile about the Anusim, about their lineage, both in the case of the Kohanim and the Leviim. They will participate together with the non-Kohanim, meaning the Jewish Kohanim, those with the last name Cohen, that are truly today a physical Kohanim in Israel. We have them, the Kohanim, okay? Non-Kohanim in the house of Israel, in the service of the temple. Till the Ramad position, they are going to join the Kohanim. They will serve as Kohanim. We already fixed the problem with the Halacha. We fixed the problem with the Halacha, with the Rambam. I already explained to you why. But now it says how the conversion to be Kohanim again, 500 years later, how is it going to take place? And he says, the Mashiach, he will sprinkle holy water on them from all of the filthiness, both physically and spiritually, so that they will be ready to do their part in the temple. Brothers and sisters, what is sprinkling holy water on them mean? It is mean that they are being converted. A mikveh is one of the prerequisites for the notice, it doesn't say that they're going to be circumcised. It doesn't mention that. It doesn't mention that they're going to bring the korban, the sacrifice. Why? Because they are the korban. They have been the korban for the last 500 years. Brothers and sisters, they are the living korban. They are the lamb who has been led to the slaughter. What do you think they are? They are the korban. The only thing that is left to do is a mikveh. They will jump into a mikveh of King Messiah himself. Do you want to know who will be the one who converting them in this day? Yeshua is sitting in Jerusalem. He says, bring me the house of Israel. All the goyim come, he pick him, he pick there, he pick him. So come on, let me tell you a secret. You are really Mr. Cohen. You're really Mr. Levy. And now I am going to bring you a spiritual mikveh in Mashiach mikveh. And he's surprising them and tell them who they really are. They will already know who they are because the Spirit will speak to them. But the Messiah will complete the job. What an amazing conclusion for the salvation of the entire house of Israel. Even Rambam himself, who was a rationalist, in Mishneh Torah, which is a halacha on Acharit Hayamim, say, and nobody can argue about the Rambam here. Nobody can. He explained to us this prophecy about the Anusim. He said, the very first thing Messiah is going to do is to restore the Kohanim and Levim. When he come here and establish Bet HaMikdash, the very, very first thing that he's going to do is to establish the line of the Kohanim and Levim. Look what the Rambam says. During the era of the Messianic kingdom, or the Messianic king, once his kingdom has been established and all of Israel is gathered around him, talking about physical Israel, the Jewish people, the entire nation's line of descendant will be re-established on the basis of the words of the prophet, or the prophetic spirit, the prophetic spirit, which will rest upon him. Again, what are the words of the prophetic spirit? It says in Malachi 3:3, he shall sit as a refiner and purify. He will purify the leader of the Levite. First stating, he is a priest of defined lineage. He is a Levite of defined lineage. He's going to be doing something amazing, the Messiah. And here Rambam is quoting Malachi 3:3 to explain to us exactly what the Messiah is going to be doing. He's going to be cleansing and purifying all the lineage, all the line of the house of Israel. Look at this. This is something absolutely amazing, absolutely incredible. It says in Malachi 3:3, and he will sit as a smelter or a purifier of silver, and he will cleanse the sons of Levi and purify them like a gold or silver, like a Kohen and a Levi. They will become for Adonai those who present an offering in righteousness. The final offering that is going to be presented by Israel to King Messiah to complete the Geula is by the scattered Gentiles who are called Anusim, who are part of the house of Israel. They've been hidden, and now they are going to be returned, and then Mashiach is going to be refining them. He is going to restore each and every one of you. Brazil, Portugal, Sfarad, Latin America, hallelujah. He is going to pull one by one. Those who have been swallowed, they've been swallowed, they are gone. I'm talking to you, as the Midrash said, who are stuck in the teeth of Esav. You are coming out. Spit yourself out. Come out of Christianity today. Get ready to join the house. Rabbi David Kimchi, in his brilliant commentary, leave us no doubt for where they came from and what they're calling in the last days. The Radak says, even those who are dwelled in remote islands, we saw it, they speak about Sfarad, so remote that they are considered lost. Moreover, they did not ascend with their brothers, the house of Israel, from the exiles, because they are not the natural branch. They may have changed some part of their religion. Despite all of this, I will appoint some of them as Kohanim and Leviim. That is, those who belong to priestly and Levite family in the past. I will appoint them, Kohen to serve me, and Levite to serve me, like the Levites who used to sing before me, violins and harp. They will lead to worship. They will be leading the worship in those days. They are going to become a Kohen. They are going to become a Levi. And by the words of our rabbis, may they be remembered for good. Look at the conclusion of the Radak. I will also take their offering when they are approaching. They are the living offering. as they are Israel, and Kohanim and Leviim among them. They have been enslaved and were forced to convert, and those they have been forgotten. Said Rabbi Eliezer, and they will also take from them. They bring Israel to King Messiah. Let me stop there and tell you something. They will bring all of Israel to the Mashiach recognition. Somehow the event of them coming up to Jerusalem will lead all of Israel to recognize King Messiah. Why? Because when the natural branch will see all the brothers are returning and understanding the return, then all of Israel will surrender to God, will surrendering to Hashem. Each and every one of them I will take from those who bring from those who are being brought. And from them, the Aramaic mean, and here the Radak quote his own father, and he said, my father interpret this text to mean, and I will also take men from them and appoint them to Kohen, and I will appoint Levites from them to serve me as a Kohen, and there will be water drawers and woodcutters. And the Holy Bible says in Zechariah prophecy, there are no Canaanites in the house of God anymore, meaning the Gibeonites were woodcutter and water drawers is from the prominent Kohen. I will appoint workers and helpers for the Kohanim. You see, Radak's father had a problem with this. And Radak's problem was the problem, how can you take Gentiles and make them a Kohanim? So he came up with a nice interpretation that they become like a woodcutter and water drawers to help the Kohanim, like a helper to the first class Kohanim. Brothers and sisters, listen to me. They are not going to be a second class Kohanim. We have to go to the text. They will become Kohanim. After over 500 years, and the way they will become Kohanim is the Holy Spirit will awaken them. They will bring them, and Messiah will convert them, and it's going to be the Gentiles who are going to bring the remnant of the house of Israel. And in that, all of Israel will be awakened. The full salvation will come to Israel. And that's why in Yalkut Otzar Haggadah we read, the prophet is about the sons of Israel who stay and sell among the nations, who were part of the families of the Kohens and the Levi. They have changed their religion, but they will be taken to serve like a Levi in song and harps, and they will be known through the Holy Spirit that prophesies by Malachi. How will they know it? Why the Spirit of God today is already awakened. So many Sfaradim, it's awakening you to tell you to come out of the of Isav. What do you think? We have a yeshivot in Sfaradit, in Portuguese. Why? So that you come out of Isav, so that you come out of the teeth of Isav. And here the Midrash continue and explain to us that the brothers that Isaiah referred to, who come out of the nations, he's made the point so clear, are the Anusim, who became part of the Goyim, and they were unable to be part of the main ingathering of the exile due to the wrath of the Satan. Will they keep the religion of Judaism or the religion of Gentiles? Today, the question that I have for all of you is, will you, Sfaradim, Portuguesim, Bnei Anusim, will you return to Judaism to meet Yeshua HaMashiach, to receive your real mikveh and real conversion, or will you remain in Christianity? If you remain in Christianity, you will be like this gift that being consumed by Esau with no fruit. When is the new heavens and new earth come? Listen to the next verse. It says, for is the new heaven and the new earth which I will make shall endure by my will, declared the Lord. So shall your seed and your name endure. Brothers and sisters, A new heaven and the new earth will come when the gift, the mincha, which represent the Anusim, was forcefully taken, illegally taken by Esav, Christianity will be returned to Yaakov. Esav, Christians, you need to loosen Esav today. Christians who are watching me right now, I pray that you will loosen Esav, because without the Gentile loosening Esav, the gifts cannot be returning. Perhaps this is a prophetic language about the Gentiles coming to the fullness and opening the way for their return to Judaism with the Messiah of those from the seed of the house of Israel. The Anusim. Everybody have a role here to play. I pray today that you know how important each and every one of you return. If you're east of Christianity, if you're Ben and Bat Anusim, and if you're Israel, physically, Jewish people, all three parties are part of this great plan of God. And I urge you today in this day, they're not forgotten by God. Therefore, the world should not be forgotten by men. But every day that go by, that we don't awake those Jewish seeds among the Sfaradim, among the Anusim, is a day that those seeds go deeper and deeper into Esav digestive system. Let us awaken ourselves now. Let us start the return now. You are the living mincha who will bring, flip the letters, nechama, comfort to all of Israel's salvation. We need you. Do your part. And in that, all of Israel shall be saved. God bless you and shalom.
המחזיר